And greetings. You're listening to Heart of Mind Radio for the New Millennium. I'm Kathryn Davis. On today's program, we're going to be speaking with Aracely Brown, one of the program directors for the New York Open Center, and we're going to be hearing about two great programs that are coming up very, very soon. The first of these is a certification program, Flower Essence Therapy Certification with Elizabeth Willoughby. And this is an interesting program that you can take over a period of time in 9 sessions on Mondays, and we'll be hearing more from Aracely and Elizabeth Willoughby in our first segment. And following that, I have a conversation with Aracely about another program that I'm actually quite excited about, and that is the work of Sergio Magaña. And Sergio Magaña Ocelocoytl, who teaches the ancient Mexican Toltec tradition, has 3 programs coming up starting Friday, January 31st, The Art of Manifesting in the Toltec Tradition. Also on the 31st, Empowering the Hands with Lunar Energy to Heal. And then following that on Saturday and Sunday, February 1st to the 2nd, Psychic Surgery, Energetic Healing of Mexico. And while Aracely and I are going to talk about these programs being offered by Sergio, next week we're going to be speaking with Sergio himself, and you'll be able to hear more about the program directly from him. So I invite you to tune in again next week. And we're also going to hear from ShaRon Rea, founder of No Judgement, Just Love. And the mission of her organization is to inspire us all to live together with unconditional allowance, one courageous action at a time. She is a dynamic facilitator as well as a compassionate life and family coach. So stay tuned for that as well. And welcome. This is Heart of Mind. I'm Kathryn Davis, and I'm being joined by Aracely Brown, who is one of the program directors at the New York Open Center right here in New York. And we're going to be speaking about some programs that are coming up very soon. And one involves Flower Essence Therapy Certification with Elizabeth Willoughby, and another with Sergio Magaña, who will be coming in with a series of workshops on Aztec healing and some of the wisdom from the southern borders of the United States. Welcome, Aracely.
Hey there, Kathy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Well, looking at actually all the new selections were coming up for 2020 at the Open Center, which is quite wide and variety here that we're working with. But I, of course, want to introduce today Elizabeth Willoughby, who is doing something that actually we've never done before, and that is a flower certification, flower essence therapy certification. So we're looking forward to that because it is rare to get this kind of work done in New York City. There rarely isn't that many people teaching this kind of certification and training, which means you become a practitioner, and that's an unusual. She's also working, most people know about the Bach Flower remedies and essences, but she's also working with the Australian bush flower essences as well as the Alaskan gem elixirs, and she takes it over. We start on February 3rd. We go all the way through April 6th. It's an intensive every Monday for 3 hours, and you basically will become immersed in this work.
Elizabeth Willoughby is going to be joining us in this conversation in just a moment. Yeah.
a moment. I just want to make sure everybody goes to her website, that EW at planetaryenergetics.com. And now I'd like to introduce, I want to say a little bit about Elizabeth. She's a certified Bach Flower Essence therapist who has studied with Ian White on the Australian Bush Flower Essences and Steve Johnson of the Alaskan Flower Essence Project. And she's received certifications on green medicine and a variety of herbal work that she has done. And she has done this. Tell them more, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Well, welcome, Elizabeth. I'm really happy to speak with you today. And I see that you studied with Peeka Trenkle, who is someone that I have known to be doing this work. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't want to date either of us, but it's been a very long time that she has been working out here in the world, teaching and helping people with herbal therapies and learning to have that as part of their repertoire as practitioners. So I'm sure that you have a lot to offer. So tell us something about yourself and that journey that brought you into this awareness and use of essential therapies and aromatherapies.
Okay. First, I want to make a distinction that flower essence therapy is not aromatherapy. Aromatherapies are oils that you usually take by inhalation. Flower essences are vibrational tinctures of the flowers themselves that you ingest. You can also apply them topically, but Dr. Edward Bach, who codified flower essence therapy in the 1920s and 30s, only had people ingesting them. My history with flower essences is in the late 1980s. I was in England, and I happened to be going through a lot of emotional things and also jet lag. I had just arrived. An acupuncturist I met there gave me Rescue Remedy, one of Bach's essences, which is comprised of 5 flower essences, and it snapped me awake, it grounded me, it helped me adjust immediately to the time and start to be able to think about what I was going through in my life then. Remember, the late 1980s was when we were going through the AIDS crisis. I'd lost several of my friends, and in the early in 1997, the Open Center brought a teacher from the Bach Center, Carolyn Navarra, to New York City. I took her certification program and began teaching on my own in 1998. I actually had a partner teaching with me, but that's when I started teaching. I taught at the Open Center from 2002 to 2004.
Excellent. And thank you for that, because I think in my mind, and probably some of our listeners' minds who wouldn't have made that distinction between the flower essence therapy that you're speaking of. And so the class itself is working with the Bach Flower Essences and the Australian Bush Flower Essences and the Alaskan Gem Elixirs. Can you explain that to us? Maybe just briefly describe how Bach flowers are made. I know it's an energetic shaking, but the principle of this modality.
Okay. First, I want everyone listening to think about how they feel when they see a beautiful meadow of flowers or they're given a bouquet of flowers. Everyone I know instantly has a feeling of, how beautiful, an uplifting of the spirit, of positivity. In the Middle Ages, Paracelsus, a well-known alchemist, used to talk about using the dew of flowers to heal emotional imbalances. There's also other records of people using flower essence due to heal emotional imbalances. And when Dr. Bach became a doctor, he became frustrated with people not staying well. He could heal them with allopathic medicine, but he wanted them to stay well. So he created a way to make do by cutting the flowers just before they were in full bloom, putting them in a bowl of spring water, and letting them sit in the sun from 2 to 8 hours, depending on how sunny the day was. He also developed later on a boiling method for tree flowers. But when you have the tincture ripe, when the flower blossoms have faded, you drain the water, mix it equal parts with a preservative. And this is your mother tincture for a flower essence. Now, flower essences have been used to great extent healing the effects of shock and trauma on Vietnam veterans. FES has, the Flower Essence Society in California has full documentation of that. It's also being used to treat veterans from the Iraq War. And FES is very good about going to different places of trauma in the world to help people. And so by taking a negative emotion of your own, lack of self-confidence, depression, envy, greed, you take a certain flower essence which holds that specific emotion, and the positive, or it holds the positive emotion that can counteract that.
Mm-hmm. Very, very good. And tell us a little something about your class itself and what people will learn, because this is actually a course, 31.5-hour course in which people will have an opportunity to be certified themselves as a therapist of flower essence remedies.
Correct. People will learn how to choose flower essences and gem elixirs. And by the way, we will also talk about Alaskan Flower Essences and their environmental essences as well as the gem elixirs. How to choose essences, how to interview a client, how to mix, how to make a flower essence, how to mix a combination of essences to help a client, and we'll be keeping journals of our flower essence work. There will be some homework, and I just want to stress, in this time in the world when there is a lot of extreme imbalance of division and wars and potential wars, it is essential that we start addressing our own healing and our own ability to be grounded and thinking in this time to help others, which in turn helps the whole world. This is an energy medicine. We will also talk briefly about treating animals and do some topical application for physical imbalances.
Okay, that sounds like a full course as it is, and it's 9 sessions on Mondays from 6 until 9:30 p.m. For those people who want to involve, you can get yourself, set up your calendar for that. And it's a full course for certification Flower Essence Therapy. And that's really great. I want to thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us today, and give you an opportunity if you have another thought you'd like to share with our listeners about this work, and maybe some experience of how you've worked with people and how they've been helped.
First, I want to mention that my website is planetaryenergetics.com. I have worked for over 30 years with people to help themselves evolve from very difficult, life-changing situations, from a change of job, a divorce, a terminal illness. I've also worked with animals. I encourage people to take this. It's an excellent remedy for people dealing with teenagers. We will talk about using flower essence sprays and how you can change the energy of an environment to clear it and to also subtly influence it. It is an energy medicine. It is subtle. It does not have any contraindications working with allopathic medicine, herbal medicine, acupuncture. It is a wonderful thing. Dr. Bach wanted everyone to be able to use this form of healing, and he wanted everyone to have a set of his essences in their medicine cabinet.
Very good.
Thank you for the opportunity for letting me speak.
No problem at all. And the reason we are bringing this up to you today is because it is scheduled to start next week. So for those of you who might want to check it out, I encourage you to go to the website, opencenter.org, and you can look up Flower Essence Therapy Certification, or you can go directly to the website just for more deeper information about Elizabeth, and it's planetaryenergetics.com. So that's a pretty cool thing to check out. And I'm always looking at these kind of things. I certainly use probably the oils more than I do the energetic essences, but I've been familiar with Bach therapies and rescue remedy, and
yeah, because it's a lot more than that, because she makes it more international, because you're getting to become known with the Australian bush flower essences and the works of the Alaskan gem elixirs, and I think it's more of how I think other countries are working with this work. And the thing is, for anybody who's considering becoming a holistic practitioner or already is a holistic practitioner and they want to add to their arsenal of healing techniques, this is primary only because very few people teach it. And that's one of the reasons I thought this would be a fantastic opportunity to consider it. So, because,
all right.
Yeah.
And definitely,
yeah, it's excellent for counselors too.
Yeah, well, I think it's something that people can use in their own lives. I certainly understand the value and the vibration of nature in healing, as well as crystals in terms of the energetic transformation that can occur.
With spirit and emotions, which sometimes we don't always go that deep.
Yeah.
So, it's very subtle work.
I can see that, and I think that it's something, and some people will understand it directly and recognize this as an opportunity to sort of expand their toolbox.
Yep.
And others may need to do a deeper exploration. So there's time for that for those who want to do either one.
Right. So starting February 3rd, all Mondays, intensive all the way to April 6th. And we look forward to hearing. You can call us at 212-219-2527, extension 0, and speak to registration about it.
Excellent. And we'll give that information out again at the end. And I'll just have to say, Aracely, slow it down a little bit because people need time to get those numbers. Or maybe Elizabeth has a flower essence for you to relax.
Yeah, that's the other one.
And
that's right. You've got her laughing now.
Yeah, it's to be able to relax and breathe and let go of some of the stress of what it is to thrive in New York City. And that's really why this is something that we can all use. You might be in a traffic stop, you might be in a stressful job, you might have issues or problems in the family, and these are ways that we can really improve those stresses in our life. And now we're going to make a bit of a switch and talk about the art of manifesting in the Toltec tradition. Now, my friend Sergio Magaña is coming back to New York City, also starting his first workshop is actually on Friday coming the 31st, and then he has it goes on through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a whole spectrum of things that he is offering us. And just as a point of disclosure, I have been studying with Sergio myself every time he comes to New York because I'm very much intrigued and engaged with these traditions that come from our ancestral knowledge. And granted, it would be nice to be able to delve into the ancestry of each and every culture, but with Mexico being the neighbor of on Turtle Island here, of us North Americans, he's really bringing some knowledge because he is a wisdom keeper, and he's actually teaching us a great deal. And he's going to be joining us next week, and you'll be able to hear his voice as he talks about his work. But I wanted to give a bit of a preview because it's so close to his first workshop. Sergio Magaña Ocelocoytl. He's the Mexico City-based founder of Centro Energético Integral and author of The Dawn of the Sixth Sun and Caves of Power. He is a well-known and respected healer who has been initiated into the 5,000-year-old Toltec lineage of Mesoamerica. He has also been appointed head of a prestigious project with Club UNESCO for the protection of ancient Toltec Aztec knowledge and the ancient pyramids of Mexico.
Which no one had ever done.
Yeah, because it's really interesting because I have done a trip to Mexico with Elena Avila, before she transitioned, and worked with her through the Open Center. And I've also been working with Sergio Magaña, whom I learned about through the Open Center. And he is someone who's really been full-hearted and full throttle in terms of revealing these secrets. But he tells a story of almost being appointed in this role. Can you tell us, or do you remember something about that?
Yes. What it is that Sergio, I think, like all of us, was soul-searching as to his work. And he's very artistic. And he wondered, what would that be? Because he felt he probably would go into the arts and presentation. But what happened is he was actually raised by, and in Mexico this is sort of normal, you're sometimes raised by a nanny who, and this it doesn't mean you have to be highly wealthy, but you're raised by a nanny who can be indigenous. I think he learned a great deal from her, and eventually I think that the ancient, there's a very small number of ancient people who still carry the knowledge that is 5,000 years old, and most of Mexican people don't even know that exists. But they come now, they've opened up the doors, and they started searching for the appropriate messengers of their work. And they felt that he would be one of those people. He's very funny about this because he said, well, He says, I wasn't sure. And they said, well, if not, we'll just move on to the next guy. But he actually turns out to be an essential piece of like a handful of people that they chose to go around the planet to start waking up people to this knowledge, because it is knowledge that existed even in, as we used to talk about in the days of Queen Elizabeth, which they feel in Mexico, that their work was actually exercised by those empires back then, which wasn't known. But the thing is that he's brought it forth to make it usable for the everyday person. And some of his students he feels, have surpassed his work because their healing is gone into miraculous levels. I mean, these people have become dedicated. I thought that one of the people he thought was like an EMS driver down in Mexico City. And I'm very, impressed and proud to know him, but he's a very, I think, impressive teacher in the sense that he keeps you engaged. And one of the things, I just want to talk about a little bit about the workshops that are coming up, like on January 31st. That's going to be the day itself, and it's called The Art of Manifesting, which is understanding how we go into getting rid of a lot of blocks that keep us cemented in the same old ideals that we can't get past, our lack of abundance in our life in many levels. So he would be working on what they call, of course, we recognize as the power centers of the body, which have to do with things like the kundalini or the chakras, which are recognized in yoga, but for anyone who doesn't completely understand that. And he says it's a synthesis of numerology, dreams, our intent, and how we connect to the earth, how we connect to our personal energy, and use it to manifest anything for emotional healing to better health. So that's very, it's a huge amount of information that you would go through just taking that class alone for the day. And I think we have, we're doing pretty well with registrations, but we want to alert more people because he comes here once a year. And also the Latin community, not everybody in the Latin community knows that he's here, but when they do, we had a lot of people from the Latin community coming in because they want that connection, especially. And then we have, on that Friday night, on January 31st, we have Empowering the Hands with Lunar Energy to Heal. So it's about a 2-hour course, but he's picking up on something that's, I think, in several traditions and understanding the power of the hand and where and how it connects to, I think he calls it the place of the moon's navel. So it's the relationship between the moon cycles, which is also what the Celtics do. They understand how we can work to manifest also with understanding how the moon cycles work throughout the year and how they're not to be ignored, as he says. A lot of this work can be found in some of the books that he's written. And I think that if also you wanted to be introduced to him, you could also try that Friday night. It's like a 7 o'clock start time on January 31st. And then we go to the 2-day class, which is, I think, a quite amazing class and is so jam-packed with information. And it's called Psychic Surgery, Energetic Healing of Mexico. So that particular class to me, because I took it as a 1-day, and honestly, there are so many different types of what you would call exercises that he's teaching you. One of the most amazing ones that I felt was very impressive was the fact that he was teaching you how to actually work while you're sleeping and waking up the energetic bodies on your back, on the back of the head, going down the body, and how you actually can prepare them before you go to sleep. And by morning time, that would close, but you actually can place information in there. So it either, working on manifesting, working on your body, working on whatever it is that he's teaching you to do. So he also works with the power of obsidian, which is volcanic rock that develops. It looks like glass. He has them made. He will introduce these wands that he brings made of obsidian. Everybody purchases one. And they will pinpoint certain parts of the body to make, I think, the focus of the energy that you're working with. Now, one of the things about his books are that he works with how our cellular structure matches universal law, which can get into math, and that's why I feel that even the obsidian mirror, the wands, are made to precise measurement to the centimeter. I mean, inch by inch, because he says this is extremely important. They can't be damaged, and they have to be used sacredly. So it is an enormous amount of work. One of the things that people can look forward to is also traveling with him to Mexico City to experience some of the work there and how he takes you into the pyramids. So, I mean, it's vast, and you will just, when you're here at the Open Center, if you decide to come, it will just seem like a second passed, because the work is so in-depth and enormous. So for those who want to continue, they can become, healers and go down there as well. But, hey, this is the opening door down here. And
Yeah. And what's really interesting about the work, I took his psychic surgery course last time, and the Palladian course.
yes,
And it really does give you a very deep connection to what we understood and what we can. When we look at the pyramids, we have to understand that whether in America or in Egypt or in any country that you find these ancient technologies, and that's kind of what they are relating to a culture that had information that connected the heavens, the celestial realm, the earth realm, the inner being, the shadow, the inside, as well as the outside. And it was a science, a technology, and an understanding that for all intents and purposes was lost when a lot of these cultures were subsumed, except rather than losing everything, they took it into secret and was held in secret until such a time as the wisdom masters and wisdom keepers decided that the world needed this information. And when 2012 came around, a lot of this opening began to occur. And that's the first time I met Sergio, was when his first book came out. And it's really interesting because he explained to me that, he himself, he'll say, well, look, I'm just mixed, mestizo, however you want to think about it, but this ancient culture comes to us through time. So he talked about the lineage coming from the Olmecs, which he says came down through North America into Mexico, and he talks about the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Toltecs and how these traditions were passed down and widened and maybe transformed over the years, but they're really connected to the deepest of roots. And he is particularly, I believe, chosen in one way to convey this information is because he has dedicated himself to it, really in a very real way, but also because he can communicate bilingually, which is important if you want the information to be able to reach a broader spectrum of adherents. And he's actually traveled the world teaching this. So for me, I wait for that time when he's back in New York, because I can't travel necessarily to Germany or Mexico or to one of these other places where he's teaching. So I'm kind of grateful to the Open Center for bringing him in so that myself and other people who are in the city can gain access to his work. And he's like, working with him is like having a faucet full tilt, and he just pours the information at you, and then he says, now go do it. So that he's not a gatekeeper. He's quite the opposite of being a gatekeeper. Right. And he gives you a sense of self-confidence, and he says, you have this wisdom in you. It's almost like he's just unlocking the key by connecting what you innately have to the ancient wisdom. And then when you bring that together, you can begin to move and use these ancient teachings in your own life, but also in work for those of us who are health practitioners. And I use these this teaching in my own practice. It's very, very helpful to have that depth of understanding, even if you don't get to the point of using the obsidian, just the understanding of how the subconscious or the shadow works, and how these caves of transformation work, and how to implant into your dream space, or to clean the dream space so that you can be clear enough to move forward in your life. So I for me personally, it's been quite valuable, and I look forward to working with him again. Yeah,
because I think he used it to heal his own father, who was struggling with cancer, and it was extremely important.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time for today, and I invite everyone to tune in again for Heart of Mind, and we will be sharing some of the words of Sergio Magaña. He'll be telling us a bit about the work that he's doing, so you get a bit of an update. But in the meantime, you might want to go to the Open Center website, opencenter.org, because his first workshop is actually a week from today, on the 31st of January. You can check it out. And his name is Sergio Magaña, SergioMagana. So you can check that out. And Aracely, what is the phone number for the Open Center?
Sure, it's 212-219-2527, extension 0, and definitely talk to registration. You can come by. We do have a bookstore and a small cafe downstairs. You can hang out, get to know the place, and ask questions. And, of course, you can take the catalog or ask for a catalog on the phone, and however you want to get to know us, please.
All right. Thank you so much. And please do stay tuned. You're listening to Heart of Mind Radio for the New Millennium. I'm Kathryn, and my guest today is ShaRon Rea, and she is founder of No Judgement, Just Love. And the mission is to inspire us all to live together with unconditional allowance, one courageous action at a time. She is a dynamic facilitator as well as a compassionate life and family coach. And you can find more about our guest at thewholefamilycoaching.com and nojudgmentjustlove.com. So welcome, ShaRon.
Thank you, Kathryn. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm really happy to have you. It's always wonderful to have a friendly voice, a friendly face, a kindred spirit somewhere else in the world doing the kind of work that I enjoy and endorse and understand the importance of. So I'm really glad to learn about your work. And we did learn about it coming together under the We.net organization, talking about the MLK program, the MLK 40 Days of Peace, Manifesting the Dream. So came to learn of your work through that, and I know that you are working as well with your program, No Judgement, Just Love, and bringing it into the MLK work. And all that's great. But really what I want to start this conversation is with you yourself. And I'd like to learn a little bit more about your journey and how you got to the point of being able to offer this work of family coaching, and really from the perspective of no judgment, just love. That's a very rare state, it seems, in our world today.
Yes, Kathryn, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I agree 100% with you, which is why I'm so passionate about this movement that I've created probably about 6 years ago of No Judgment, Just Love. My journey is interesting in the fact that I'm an only child, and I always felt like I was not meant to be an only child, that people were important, and I wanted brothers and sisters and a big family. And so what that caused me to do was live off-center of my own authentic self in order to get people to like me, to get people to interact with me. And it became sort of a part of my personality. It wasn't hard, and I resonated with people, and they resonated with me. And as I grew up, I did a lot of different jobs. The most impactful ones for me were being a lobbyist in New York and having to, and getting the opportunity to be exposed to a lot of different situations that people found themselves in and how government addressed that. I also was a teacher. But the two major things that happened to me as a family, I was married for 21 years. My former husband is a lawyer. I worked in the law firm that he was in, is how we met. and he's Italian and I'm not. And so we had 2 daughters, and it just became difficult and almost impossible for he and I, even though we were opposites, we came together and got married, we didn't evolve as opposites to understand each other. And I felt bound and frustrated, almost like I was in jail, that I couldn't, relate to the person that was most important to me and have a healthy relationship. So I chose to transition our family through a divorce. And doing that along with raising our daughters, they were teenagers at the time, they're 6 years apart, both girls, I found that something inspired me. Maybe it was the light of day, maybe it was just in my sadness, that this man is going to be part of my life and our daughter's life forever. So for me to hate him, which was really easy to do at the moment because we were arguing and we had a lot of toxicity in our relationship, was not going to serve me in the long run. And so I began that journey of judging him less, trying to maneuver my perspective of our situation into a place of truth, because I didn't want to lie to myself, but also in a place of peace. And from that perspective, I resonate very much with Martin Luther King, and I began my journey, it's been 9 years now, of becoming a life and family coach to help people in their own family be willing to accept each other exactly where they are. That does not mean you have to interact with someone who causes you a lot of conflict, but it does mean that you can still see them as a valuable, respected person of our humanity. And when you do have to interact with them, if you come from that perspective, what I've found is that it's not easy, like you said. It's not common, like you said, in a divorced situation or in raising teenagers. So no judgment, just love doesn't mean that we don't judge, because that's human. And of course we judge. It just means that after you make that judgment, if you find it causes you, a conflict, or it doesn't feel good in your soul, to give yourself permission to pause. Take a breath. And from my words, I offer you to consider going and using your GPS, which for me means your greatest personal shift. And find a way to come up to your highest self, the place where we all are one. And decide how you're going to respond instead of just reacting. And there you get to choose to become closer to the loving place or stay farther away or move even farther away. And all of that, to me, is allowable in our society because everybody, whether you believe it or not, is doing the best they can.
Wow, that was wonderful. I could feel my spirit just exhale a little bit as you were going through that. Do you have like meditation recordings or a book about the GPS system?
You know, that's something in my future that I'd like to do. And thank you. I have truth bumps all over my body right now from your suggestion, so I will.
Yeah, definitely do that. So that's cool. I might call upon you to collaborate with something. I do this work all the time, but I could just feel the energy you were bringing. And this is just my insert. I'm not sure if we'll keep it, but it's just an honest reaction. So that's beautiful. So what does your practice look like now? How do you work with people and attract people into your work?
I love that you use the word attract because that is what my work is becoming. I define myself to myself as a lighthouse. I stand solid in who I am and who I'm becoming and shine a light out and attract those who see the light of me and are interested in coming and engaging with me. And so that to me does no harm. I'm not trying to convince someone to change their view or change their perspective because that isn't in right action as far as I know. And so because it's just me in my practice at the moment, I get to choose however I want to deliver the services that I have. So I can work with families or individuals, and it's a family with lots of people or just one, online, in person, or over the internet. So I'm mobile to you wherever you are. I also have a lot of opportunity to work here in Arizona, where I live in Scottsdale, with school districts because one transition that's very difficult for families is raising teenagers. I absolutely love the middle school age because we as families and we as society don't understand their growth spurts, their change of personality, them trying to find themselves, and we often shun them and judge them as being aliens, and I just have to close my eyes until they grow up. Well, that disregards the beautiful journey that they're taking. So I work a lot with schools delivering workshops to parents and teachers. I also do this a lot, Kathryn. I get the wonderful invitation from many places to be involved in a podcast or some kind of interaction on television or on the internet where I can give my perspective and help people in that way. My goal is to move around the world and be invited to places that have a lot of judgment. Like I have just a personal goal of being invited or just coming to Congress and offering this message of no judgment, just love to those that are open to hearing it. I had the perfect opportunity to do just that in a women's prison here in Arizona and with profound results. I do write. I have 2 books. One is Children and Divorce, Parenting Tips to Help Your Family Cope and Adjust, and that's on my website, as well as a book about No Judgement, Just Love. It's a coloring journal book for kids of all ages. And the beauty and the fun surprise about this book is that I've written the poems in the style of Dr. Seuss, and there is a picture drawn by my friend who's an artist. So you get to read the words in a poem version about how to live with no judgment, color the picture that's associated with it, and there's space to journal your thoughts as well. And the surprise is this book comes in a left-handed version as well as a right-handed version. So there's no judgment about how you color.
Oh, well, that's lovely. So that's wonderful. And people can connect with you through these websites, thewholefamilycoaching.com or NoJudgmentJustLove.com. And I understand that you're doing a meditation project right now. How is that coming along?
The meditation project that I'm doing maybe has to do with Martin Luther King's event. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What I've done is we.net that you and I are collaborating with is doing 40 days of manifesting the dream and bringing peace into the world. 40 days is a long time for me to talk about anything. So I decided 10 days, and actually tomorrow is the 5th of the 10 days, and I think I'm going to stop at 5 because that's a lot. But what I'm doing is helping people see different views of Martin Luther King and aligning his goal of us living in more peace through unity with no judgment, just love, living peace with our own personal unity. And for instance, day before yesterday, we know him as this magnificent icon of a man that won a Nobel Prize and delivered a speech that really empowered the civil rights movement. But on Tuesday, in my event process with We the World, I offered the opportunity for people to realize this man was a dad. This man was a husband. And this man raised a family even with all the things that he did throughout the world, being away, being in jail, being hurt, being all of those things. And I wanted people to have the opportunity to see him through the eyes of his children, because that's a very different vantage point than those of us that are adults viewing him. So, in that way, it is almost like a meditation, Kathryn, where you can listen to me because I gave myself a challenge, do a live video every day, and I'm succeeding, and then offering people a different view of this man that we honor this week.
Well, and that's wonderful because people can go back in and look at it if they missed the first 5 or 6 or even the whole 10 of the series. I believe it's going to be available to people if they go to the website we.net. Am I correct in that?
Actually, the best place to get it, and you are accurate that it's going to be there as long as Facebook is alive and well, they go to Facebook.com, No Judgement, Just Love. There's a No Judgement, Just Love Facebook page, and on that page is the event Manifesting the Dream in 2020, inspired by No Judgement, Just Love.
Excellent, excellent. I will share that as much as possible. Can you also give that space again where people can find these events that you've created for them?
Absolutely. They exist on Facebook. So if you are participating in Facebook in any way, you can find the event on the No Judgement, Just Love Facebook page, and just go to events and click on it, and you will see, hallelujah, 61 people are participating with me right now, posting and commenting and watching the videos, and they will be there. Like I said, as long as Facebook exists, they will be there, and you can interact at any time. You can reach me through there. I monitor the page every day to make sure I don't miss any comments that people put. So it's very interactive. And thank you, Kathryn, for inviting people to join me there.
Excellent. This interview was in part of a larger program called Manifesting the Dream, honoring and carrying forward the work and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And the interactive launch broadcast was Monday, January 20th, celebrating the MLK National Day of Service, 25th anniversary, and 40 Days of Peace. And there was a wonderful broadcast of which I was part, and you can go and view that at the Facebook page of the We campaign, and that is www.facebook.com/the We campaign, and you will see that interactive broadcast and all of the other things that are going on as part of this celebration by we.net.